Kajela Meghalaya hapok gejing alam Menteri Rangba Konrad Kongkal Sangma kala IT gejing terwa ban ai ka grant in aid ka ba iway point R Lakh Klur tengka na kebenta kesan senam ha gejing alang balapnya du chairman ka Finance Commission ka bakat Hendriau u Arvin Panagaria. Habai kran bikelat patai kubor u Panagaria u loong bagajing kwa gejela kalong ban kentiu ka bah na ka sopwe na kasispa syaka sanpo na kasispa. Ulang baga Meghalaya kedai gejela ke bapra ke bandawa ban kentiu ya ke baha naka sopwe syaka sanpo nak sispa. Baru ulang bahagi senam ke belalet ke Commisssion kampat jusim mekanik kejing kentiu ke bahaya. Warvin uli itu baga Commisssion kelas nguhun bahai kejing ajing batai jong Konrad Kongkal Sangma. Baga long ke babiang bah baru ula peni kejing angnut baga jing sim kia jong halor ki kampan roy jong gejela. Bat kila ihun bahai ke ke bagi lai ha ke baladon ki program beper ke bede ke jing don ki nok shong shnong ke jing long jing man bat ki kam jing okai Commisssion 10 bat ke jing botong ke jela baga GDP kan kenjo syaka 10 billion US dollar apok ke senam arajar apupra.
We are all very impressed with what we saw. The presentation itself was very extensive. It covered numerous programs relating to the demography, geography, tourism, whatnot. One of the very impressive things that they presented had to do with the how the state has very dramatically brought down the maternal mortality rate. There is a program under which and apparently the state has the record of every single pregnant woman in the state, and then they follow, and then they have that data by first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, birth, whatnot. So very impressive. Likewise, the program on early childhood development, where unlike other states where in the sports etc. the kids get picked up at a later age of 15 or 16, here Meghalaya is doing this at much earlier age. So number of these things, issues related to water supply, hotels, colleges being built, skill and entrepreneurship, overseas placements, nurses, and even the program under which the state is now training nurses who then get employed in places like Japan. So it was a very extensive presentation. It eventually also naturally went into the issues of finances, which is what the Finance Commission is more directly interested in. So we also got a bit of details on what the financial condition of the state is, what the debt to GDP ratio is, why the debt to GDP ratio is a bit on the high side, what have been the fiscal deficits, and again, why fiscal deficits have been on the high side. Then finally, the presentation came to another very important aspect of the presentation was a discussion of the Mission 10, under which the state has a very ambitious plan, both of programs that it wants to undertake and the commitments it has to the people of Meghalaya, and the state is targeting to take the GDP to $10 billion by 2028, which would bring its per capita income to close to about $3,000, which is quite good. So on the finance, in the end, on the main subject for the Finance Commission, of course, is the devolution, and on that the state's pitch was that the vertical devolution to the states from the divisible pool increased from the current 41% to 50%. Now, this is, of course, a figure we have been hearing in state after state, and there is somehow across states seems to be some consensus that this devolution ought to rise from 41 to 50%. Normally, of course, finance commissions don't really increase change the shares that dramatically. But in any case, for us, it's an early stage of work, and so we don't know where that is going to go. On horizontal devolution, where the mandate is how the state share is to be divided among the 28 states of India. Meghalaya depends very heavily on central transfers, which are coming both from the Finance Commission but also from the center. Non-FC transfers are also quite large. If you look at it, the debt to GDP ratio is rather high, and so also the fiscal deficit is high. Now, part of it is explained away by the fact that the state has been making good use of the long-term capital grants that it's being given as a loan, 50-year loan, which obviously has an incredible, and it's an interest-free loan for 50 years. So it's almost like a grant, but it's not quite a grant, and therefore it has to be actually taken into the debt to GDP ratio. It goes in there. So it gets a little bit overstated because of that, but still I think I would say it is a bit on the high side, but we can take the views of
submitted our priorities of the National People's Party, and to mention few of them, we advocated for greater fiscal allocation to the northeastern states, and in particular Meghalaya, because taking into account the backwardness and the lack of infrastructure and the difficult terrain that we have in Meghalaya. We also pushed for special grants for infrastructural development to address the infrastructural gap in Meghalaya, especially for the road, connectivity, healthcare, education and digital infrastructure. We also highlighted the region's vulnerability to natural disasters such as floods and landslides, and the need for disaster resilience funding. The party also stressed the importance of funds that directly address the rural and the tribal welfare, focusing on improving livelihoods through agriculture, rural infrastructure and sustainable development. And the party also advocated for customized grant systems that recognize the traditional tribal governance system in Meghalaya. We also advocated for the climate change and environmental sustainability. Given the ecological sensitivity of the Northeast, we demanded climate adaptation funds for Meghalaya to manage issues related to deforestation, water scarcity and soil degradation. We also called for environmental preservation incentives that would help the state maintain its rich biodiversity while balancing the developmental needs. The party also requested the continuation of the revenue deficit grants for Meghalaya, emphasizing the state's reliance on central transfers and the need for bridging the gap between the revenue and expenditure. And this is also for the autonomous district councils that we have in the state.
So we had focus on certain areas which are areas of concern. So from our side, we had made a mention about urban development, and I had also mentioned that when we talk about urban development, especially when we relate it to the city of Shillong, we are on a downslide, right? We are on a downslide. So we really need to rethink, and we need a lot of support also as to what is to be done as far as urban development is concerned. If you look at the city of Shillong, okay, we're having problems of congestion, pollution, then the lack of civic amenities, and all kinds of problems have emanated from time to time. And if you look at the city of Shillong, we have not really been able to get fundings from the center the way we should be getting, and the problem is more compounded. If we take the the areas which is outside the main city, which comprises of Shillong urban agglomeration. So if you talk about the stress and strains of urban life, it is a huge challenge. And considering the fact also that we have not been having the civic pool for a very long time, and this has also handicapped urban growth and urban development, especially in the city of Shillong. So we feel that we need to come up with different strategies in order to address these problems, and we need a lot of support also from the center, especially in terms of finance.
Now, main concern mostly is that the fund should not be utilized, misutilized. So we want to, any fund come from the center, it should be really utilized for the benefit of the public. Then we are concerned also, we will write a very strong note about the changes of weather, this climate change in the states of Meghalaya. So in brief, we will prepare a note and send it to them within a day or two.